Right, hello. So here we are, 154 maintenance week. So the astute and the eagle-eyed among you will notice that I am not swimming on a reef in Sulawesi. So I should be away on my dive holiday, which I prepared this fish room for. But unfortunately, this happened. And so obviously the resort was shut, all the airports were shut, there was no flights in or out. As far as I know, there still isn't. It's still erupting, I think. Um, and when I looked it up, 1871 was the last time it had a big eruption. So, I mean, you couldn't have timed it any better, could you? But as many people have pointed out, it could have been worse. I could have been there. And obviously all those people that are there have been displaced are having a rough time. So I shouldn't moan really, but it's just, when I was literally sitting there completely packed. I found out a matter of hours before I was due to fly that the whole thing was cancelled. So yeah, it's just tough when you've got your head around you're going to be away for 2 weeks, or nearly 2 weeks, I think it was. Anyway, so don't feel too sorry for me because I've only got, I think, 5 weeks and I'm going to the Maldives to do some more diving. So anyway, so what I did do out of interest, I thought, right, let's pretend I'm not here and see what happens in the fish room. So it's a weird scenario that played out. So the very first night that I should have been flying, obviously, I checked my phone. I got remote cameras, and probably 6 nights out of 7 before I go to bed, I'll just have a quick glance on the camera to make sure there's nothing untoward. I did it religiously when the lights were on the Mobius app because at least once a week they just give me grief by not going off. So I was in bed at, I don't know, 11, half 11. I thought I'd just check the camera quick before I snuggle down and go to sleep. And it's one of them lights. And the bizarre thing is that, so I've got 19 lights over the tank, right? The two G4s, the whole time I've been on this tank, they've never played up ever. They come on, they ramp up, they go off. They've done that for 3 years. They're brilliant, love them. All of the others, because when they were on the Mobius app, they were doing that disco light effect in the middle of the night. I'd have two lights come on, go off at random times, everything was random. I put all of them onto extension leads. So I've got 4 extension leads with 4 lights in all. So the only one that's not on a smart plug is I've got one light there, which I didn't have a socket for, basically. So it's just plugged into a mains plug socket in the back of the tank. And so I'm laying in my bed going, I'll just turn them off. I've turned all of them off by the remote plugs, and it stayed on. And I was like, so I forgot that I had one that wasn't on it, and I'm going, so obviously I have to get up. Mrs. is going, where are you off to? Oh, it's just that little problem in the fish room. You get that roll of the eyes. So I came down, and so it's the only one that I cannot remotely turn on and off. So I unplugged it from the power cord, plugged it back in, it reset, and it's been fine since. But you just think that would have been night 1 of my holiday away, and that light was on all the time. There's no way my wife's not going to know that because she's not going to check the camera at night before she goes. And the other thing is, she's just had a full knee replacement, so she's not going to be able to climb up on a ladder. It's bad enough that she has to come up some steps to get in here, so we had to do practice runs for that. She's not going to stand up on a ladder or a stool and reach over and try and up. I was just thinking, that's amazing, isn't it? I literally looked at these lights for weeks before I went away, and they were all working fine. I made sure that everything was up to date, and the night I left, the light stayed off. You just go, this hobby is just it's like waiting for you, and it goes, aha, he's left. Let's get some mischief on the go. So there was that, and the other thing is, which is entirely my fault, really, is that I came in. Obviously, I shouldn't have been here, but I am. So I came in, and obviously I've done some stuff on the tank, and I just noticed that the water level was a little bit higher, like in the actual display, than it normally is. Um, so immediately I know what it is. I go, I haven't cleared out my weir box. Uh, so it's just one of those things I forget to do as often as I should have, really. Because obviously I know it's working because the water's going down into the sump. But what happens is it gets filled up with, just algae, and I get those spirited worms in there. I must have millions in there. I get some sponge that grows in there as well, but they grow in the slots of the weir, so they slowly block them over time. Because the overflow box. So there's a picture of when I take it off. So basically, I'll take it off, and you just get two big 2-inch holes in the end of the tank. And you get a lot of crud behind there, but I was really surprised. No Aptasia, actually, so that's very surprising. But lots of, I don't know, they like types sort of sponges and stuff. So I took it all off and I cleaned it all out. But I was thinking, I wonder whether I would have run into problems over the course of the 2 weeks I was away. And I probably would have, to be honest, because you know the way things go, you know. So I was thinking I must mentally, when I go away, add it to the list of things, because it didn't occur to me. I did so many other things that it didn't even occur to me to make sure the weir was all clean and clear. So now it's all sparkly new. I've cleaned all the slots out manually with tweezers and then a toothbrush, and then I bring it to the sink and I blast it all out. So I really do like the fact that those ghost weir boxes just completely pull off and come out of the tank. My only concern when I do that is that a fish will swim down the hole and into the overflow box. But to be fair, when you pull it off, they're pretty, I'm going to say scared, but they're very cautious of the fact that something's changed in the tank. And they don't tend to go down there. I've got a Royal Grammar which lives literally vertically under that weir box, and even he swims away once I remove it. So that was that then. So the light's always good for giving me grief, and the weir box, which is something I should have thought of before I left, really. But anyway, I didn't leave, so I've now fixed it. Other than that, I think it's good. My lanthanum chloride dosing is working like a charm at the moment. So it is now down to, I've just done it. I should have written it down. It 1.2. Yeah, yesterday, I did it yesterday or the day before. And it was 1.3. So I'm dialing it in. So I'm at 20 mil a day. And it's still dropping, so I will probably just be able to reduce that slightly. So that's working quite well, really. Very easy to use, that stuff. I like it. Right, so the only other thing which is happening is because I've had a bit of time, obviously, I've set up my auto water. Well, I've set it up, it's working, but it's not finalised. I'm doing a kind of proof of concept on it at the moment. So I've got, I mean, you can see that blue, I don't know, you can't see that, can you? Anyway, I've just got a blue RO in the drum. Go on to it. Blue RO in the drum, and I didn't. And a line coming out of the sump. So the sump line's going down to my drain at that end of the fish room, and my blue line is going into my vent on my skimmer. So I don't know if you know, but if you have an external skimmer, which I have, I've got the Bubble King 300 Deluxe, I think it is. If the return from the skimmer, so if the end of it is underwater, you have to vent the return, otherwise you'll get no bubbles in your skimmer. So because I've got the Royal Exclusive Dreambox sump, the towels from the bulkhead in the sump all go underwater. Don't have, as far as I know, you don't have a choice because they're like hard glued into it. So when I came out of the skimmer, I've teed. So obviously part of it goes down to the sump, but the other part comes up and it's just got an open end on it. Obviously it's above the tank. And at the time I was like, it's a bit ugly and it's not ideal, but to be fair, it's very handy because I now dose the calcium reactor effluent into it. So obviously the return from the skimmer, hopefully the skimmer has driven off some of the CO2. So I can put the low pH effluent from the calcium reactor into that. And it will hopefully have slightly less effect on the tank pH than if I just put it straight into the tank. And I've also now fed the feed from here into that, so that also drops down that skimmer return and into the sump. But I think I will probably, so the trouble with putting the fresh water back into there is obviously it goes back into the sump, and I'm also pulling out of the sump for the dirty water. So technically I want it to go back in the tank. So I think I might feed the line across the top of the tank and then down. And then at the far end of the tank over there, I have a slight gap, which has cost me a fish actually, because I've got a Gaia pump on magnets, and the magnet sits where the mesh of the tank cover should sit. So it leaves a tiny little, probably not even 10 mil gap. But my black cat, what's that? Black cat, was that an assessor? Grammar? I can't remember what they are. But anyway, he jumped out. I found him dried and crispy weeks after I put him in. But I think I might just put the RO return line for the fresh salt over the back and just slip it in that little gap. Kind of makes more sense to feed them. I mean, I'm sure I'll be alright if it's going to mix in the sump, and you know the amount of water I'm putting in is tiny. I'm doing 200 litres a week, so it's not huge amounts, and that's just continuous. It's over 24 hours. I'm not doing it in a burst or anything. So yeah, so that's where. So I just need to kind of work out where I want to put the lines. I'm gonna raise. I'm looking over there because that's where the pump is. It's just sitting on my makeshift desk at the moment, but I will put it on a shelf up, so it's up out of the way basically, and then I will fix all the lines so they're much more neat because they're just curling all over the place at the moment. But Intrusive Contact, that's been on there for 3 days, 4 days, something like that, and it seems to be working perfectly. It's very slow, I mean, that can do, I looked it up actually, it can do 1.7 litres a minute. So if I run it on full blast, you know, I'd empty this tank out very quickly. So it's got the capacity should I want to do it any quicker, but I don't really. So 200 litres a week leaves me another 100 litres in my drum to manually clean my sump out, clean my little LPS tank out, and just do like a detritus sort of siphon in here where they collect in certain areas. So yeah, so I think that worked fine. I can't really think of anything else that is going on. I'm still deciding what I'm going to put in this tank when I put it up here. So it's a 5 foot, well, it's 1500 long. I think that's 5 foot by 500 deep, 500 high. I've gone through so many different ideas of what to do with it. I've gone with a look down smothered in clams. I've spoken to a couple of LFS owners about what I could do. One of them suggested leafy sea dragons, which would be quite amazing. But my problem with that is, well, I've got a couple of problems with it really. One is the cost of a leafy sea dragon. Two is the lifespan of a leafy sea dragon. That's a ton of money for something that don't live very long. But the main thing is they want much cooler water. So I spend a lot of money keeping this room at 25. So it seems a bit counterintuitive to stick a tank in there that needs to run like 5 degrees below that. So I don't think that's doable, really. I thought about a mangrove tank, fiddler crabs, and mud skippers. I've thought about wrasse tank because I do like my wrasse, and I've just got no sand in this tank. I've got some wrasse in there, but it's just difficult, really, putting wrasse in with no sand. What else I thought about? My latest idea is angelfish, like dwarf angels, and maybe some larger angels, which could possibly go into this tank. So yeah, outgrow that one. So yeah, so I'm undecided, really. It's just I like the plan these days, though, as you can tell by the time I've taken for this. See, I don't understand people. I think I've said this before. I don't understand why people want to just set up a tank, smash it full of corals, and then in 6 months it's like, wow, look at that, I've got to start chopping them out now. I don't, because it gets boring, I think, really. Once your tank's full and you've got all your full complement of fish and the corals all growing, all you're doing is chopping your coral out, it gets a bit, well, for me it does anyway, it gets a bit boring. So that's when I'd start to, experiment and stuff. So I'm quite happy that I've still got lots of real estate in this tank to add more corals when I want. And potentially I could add some smaller fish in here if I wanted to. I could remove some of these large boys when they get, silly big. I don't know, but I just like to have options. I don't like to think, right, that's it, I'm there now, because it just gets boring, really. So constantly like to have ideas and challenges and things to do, really. So yeah, so I've got lots of other things I can do before I put that tank in, because I've already said I've got to change the sump. So it's not a simple case of just, I've got the tank, but it's not just a case of putting it there and cracking on with it. And I want to tidy this fish room up a bit. I don't like the platform that my skimmer and my calcium reactor are on. It looks a bit janky. That's a word. So I'm thinking I'll probably buy some ABS white plastic board and make a proper sort of corner piece for that to make it a bit more tidy. Yeah, so certain things. So I can't decide. I mean, ideally, I'd like to tidy all of the cables up on those lights, but because I'm always up there plugging them in and unplugging them and rebooting them, it's just I don't want to cover it all in, because it'll make it a real pain. So yeah, they're probably probably just stay like that, I'd imagine. I don't look up, I just look in the tank, really. Yes, so I think that is it. The tank is looking pretty good. So I noticed when you change something. So obviously I changed over from the what did I change over from? The Tropic Marin, I can't remember the names of their products. Bacto Balance, which is the liquid carbon dosing. I took that offline and I changed over to the lanthanum chloride. That's it. And it's weird because the tank was ticking on quite nicely and you can watch stuff growing and that. And then when I did that changeover, everything just kind of halted for probably a couple of weeks. Nothing went backwards or nothing sort of receded or died or anything, but it didn't look as happy as it had. And now after a couple of weeks of the lanthanum chloride sort of bedding in, I think, and the phosphate it's come down from 0.4, can't remember what I said, 0.43, 0.44, something ridiculously high. And it's now down at 1.12. And I like it around 0.1 is kind of where, I'm not bothered. 0.1 to 0.5 is, kind of where I'm happy with. I'll probably keep it at the lower end of that, 0.1 maybe, purely because it means I'm dosing less tungsten chloride. And so personally, I want to dose the least amount possible to get where I want to be. So if I can get down to, I mean, ideally, if I could get down to 15 mil and keep it at, 0.8, I'll be happy with that. Yeah, so the tank's just kind of picked back up in the last probably 3 or 4 days. It's looking happy, and I've got some really nice growth tips and a lot of the corals. Even my what do you call it, fire and I can never ever remember the name of that coral. It's either fire and ice echinata, I think it is. It's something like that anyway. That's last couple of weeks. There's had a proper little growth spurt on it, so I think that's always a good sign, because that's kind of your canary in your acros, because I think that is quite a finicky coral to grow. The wild caught tenuis they're growing well, but they don't look very colourful. So I don't know whether that's traces, lighting, or what, but I will stick with them and see where they end up. Some of the smaller frags I got from AAC and Signature Corals are looking quite colourful. So yes, I'm quite happy. I don't remember that I dropped it's got a name, I don't know what it is. I got it in that tank breakdown, and it fell off and it went under the rock or the clam or something, and it literally looked, I want to say it looked like a turd, because that's what it looked like. It was just brown and and I wasn't bothered, to be honest. I was like, nah, it looks like rubbish anyway. And then I went into my one of my LFS and spoke to him, and he knows what it is. Apparently I don't know if it's rare. Can't remember if he said it's quite rare or not. But he said apparently it colours up and it's amazing. So I've actually retrieved it and I've now stuck it up on a rock. Actually, it's just there, which I'm sure you won't be able to see on that camera, but it's got some colour on it. So I'm hoping that that's going to colour up and be something a little bit special. So yeah, so that's it. The fish still smash the frags all over the tank. So I definitely lose more frags to just the fish smashing them off and me not noticing. And then I just look down and I can see some there. I don't even know what that is. It's just lumps of dead frags on plugs. So I'm not very good at that. But hey, none of us are perfect. Right, so yeah, so that's it, I think, for this week. I can't think of anything else that I've done. Yeah, so that's it. So I think week 154 is over, and I will see you next week. All the best.